Hi, I'm Mike Papantonio, and this is America's Lawyer. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is running for president, and so far the media has focused only on his culture war. And that's good news for Ron because his record of actually governing the state is the worst in the country. The man is a terrible governor. Democrats in Arizona, well, they're suing to block third-party candidates from the ballot in 2024, a clear sign of desperation for the Democratic Party. And legislation that lawmakers are pushing to ban TikTok would actually give the government more power to spy on you and your family. All that and more, it's coming up. Don't go anywhere. America's Lawyer starts right now. Ron DeSantis has been very lucky that the media is only talking about his ridiculous culture wars and not about his actual record in Florida, which is disgusting. The state ranks among the last in the country in nearly every metric that matters to voters. I have Ring of Fire's Farron Cousins with me to talk about what's happening. You know, interesting thing. I think we started doing stories about what was happening in Florida. And people said, well, you got a national show. Why are you worrying about Florida? We did stories on his ridiculous effort to do away with the Democratic Party. You remember that? And how he was going to make bloggers register and be fined if they don't register. And then the latest is to do away with the First Amendment and try to change New York Times versus Sullivan. So we did all those stories to let the public know that if he's in charge as president, you better be ready for something. Yeah. And it ain't going to be pretty, right?
No, I mean, what has happened to the state of Florida is so much worse than what most people realize because it's not just the culture war stuff. I know that's what grabs the headlines. But across the state, people are suffering economically. We're suffering educationally. We're suffering as consumers. Across the board, this state has become, by almost every metric, one of the worst in the country. We're 49th in teacher pay. Mm-hmm. We are the worst in the country, by the way, of knowledge retention from students from 4th to 8th grade. Yeah. So our children in Florida statistically get dumber as they move through school compared to every other state in the country.
Well, just so there is this, we're talking objective numbers here.
Yes.
School, we're at the bottom where it comes to educating our kids. Healthcare, at the bottom in taking care of our health cares in Florida. Elder care at the bottom. I'm talking about like number 47 through 50 kind of bad. Salaries, the lowest in the nation. Unemployment benefits are the stingiest in the nation. Although taxpayers in Florida, the privileged pay what? 1 to 2% taxes. Yeah. Everybody else pays 12% taxes. Yeah. And you just look, all you got to do is look at this and say, okay, well, this is his legacy. This is, take all this stuff, put it up here on his head, and that's what you got. Yep. This is the guy that's running for president of the United States, and all you have to do is look at what he did to Florida. Disgusting record in Florida. The latest takes away people's right to sue when they've been injured, malpractice, when their home gets blown away in a hurricane. All of these rights have been trampled on by this man who wants to be president of the United States.
And it gets so much worse, too, because in terms of life expectancy in Florida continues to fall. We're among the top in the country in cancer death, diabetes, drug overdoses, teen birth rates, infant mortality, and I was having to look up statistics the other day. We are among one of the worst states in the country with the rise in violent crime. So what we see in states like New York is a massive rise in property crime. But down here in Florida, property crime is declining, but violent crime is rising. So yes, in New York, you're more likely to get mugged, but in Florida, you're more likely to get killed or beaten half to death because violent crime is becoming so rampant throughout the state.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about the media's handling on this. Yeah. The media's handling on this is like a yawn, okay? The only thing they know how to do is hate talk. Let's hate on this guy. Remember, he was running against Charlie Crist. Let's talk about the hate aspect of him. Let's hate on Ron DeSantis. They had all of this stuff to talk to And Chris was doing the same thing. That's why he lost. He had all of this material. Last in schools, last in healthcare, last in elder care, last in employment. I mean, you could go down this list. But the media is so dumbed down now that all they're looking for is low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another reason Charlie Crist couldn't talk about this, because plenty of these numbers started on his watch when he was a governor as a Republican.
Yeah.
And then from Rick Scott, who should have been in jail instead of the governor's mansion
for stealing $1.6 billion. Who's now a senator in Florida.
So we've just had a string. Jeb Bush before Charlie. My God, we have been cursed down here in Florida. But this is as bad as it's been. And I'm terrified to see what could come after this guy, because it's not going to get any better. Take
all of these bad statistics, hang it around his neck, and you tell me that this is a guy you want to vote for President of the United States. That's really the story here, isn't it?
Yep.
Democrats in Arizona are taking a very undemocratic approach to the 2024 election, and they're suing to prevent a third-party candidate from appearing on the ballot, because they're so worried about their dysfunctional party. We need more parties than two parties. Pick it up from there.
Yeah, it's the group No Labels that the Democrats in Arizona, and we hate No Labels. Go back and look through 19 years of Ring of Fire. You'll see us talk about how terrible they are. But they're suing because they don't want No Labels on the ballot, because their fear, of course, is that, you're going to take the moderates away and we're going to lose the election because we can't win an election on our own merits. We have to make sure we keep out all the competition so that you don't screw things up for us. It is a farce. This lawsuit they've filed is so stupid. They're saying, the petitions that they gathered to even get on the ballot, they kind of filled out paperwork before they had all the petitions. So the paperwork isn't technically legal. It's so BS.
Look, the point is this. We need three parties. And for the Democrats to take a position where we're going to do everything we can do to sue from keeping this terrible party. They are a terrible party. Don't get me wrong. But we're going to keep them off the ballot. It just looks so cheesy.
It does.
It looks like you are so concerned about your ability to win that you're not going to allow this to happen. Now, quick rundown. No Labels, driven by Wall Street. Okay? Yeah. Originated on Wall Street, had all these talking heads. Joe Scarborough used to be one of our law partners. He was one of their talking heads about how important No Labels is, because he was owned by Wall Street. But all of these folks that are talking about this, that's what it is. It's Wall Street. But you still don't say, we're not going to allow you to be a third party, right?
That is truly disgusting. And especially when Democrats in Arizona are seeing a massive surge in their own popularity, in the victories that they have in the state. Things are looking up for the Democrats in Arizona, and you're shooting yourself in the foot by trying to keep this party off the ballot, because it makes you look petty, it makes you look weak, and it makes you look anti-democratic.
And why might the public be attached to this party without even knowing how bad they are?
Yeah.
Because there's so much hate, there's so much division with the Democrats, there's so much hate and division with Republicans, and that's all the public sees is division and hate. And so they're thinking, maybe these people are different. Well, they're different if you want to be a real victim as a consumer. Go vote No Labels, but they should still be on the ballot. And the Democrats look stupid for trying to keep them off. Whistleblowers from a Swiss bank have come forward claiming that the bank was helping wealthy Americans hide billions of dollars from the IRS even after they had been prosecuted. The bank was prosecuted just not a few years ago for doing the same thing. They're criminals. They don't look like criminals because they got this nice suit on. They're dressed up in a suit. They got a white shirt. They got a tie on. So they don't look like criminals. They're absolutely criminals. Pick it up from there.
Yeah, so what these whistleblowers have come forward telling us, and this is a Credit Suisse, which is now not even a bank. UBS basically bought them out after they had failed repeatedly and got bailed out by, the Swiss government. But these whistleblowers said, listen, under United States government sanctions, we were put under these strict orders. You couldn't do this. You couldn't have these accounts. You couldn't hide money. And we're here to tell you, because they came to the federal government and said this, we've been doing it. We have all of these documents. We have evidence that we've been destroying documents. We've been hiding all of this. They've been telling us to hide it. They've been putting quotas on us for how many people's accounts we had to sign up. It is just a criminal enterprise from top to bottom.
Okay, do you remember, Eric Holder, 2014 says, look, you guys have been, you have sham entities where you're saying that this American citizen actually is a corporation and he's a British corporation. And therefore, that's one way to hide money. They destroyed account records for that made up entity. They actually hand delivered cash in America. They would show up in Miami and with boxes of cash for this person that they're trying to squirrel away from paying taxes. They changed nationalities for people. That's what this bank did. Now, that's what Eric Holder found them doing in 2014. You know what? Nobody went to prison. Just like Eric Holder on HSBC, where we found the banks were washing money for terrorists that were killing American soldiers and American contractors. 16 pages where they admit doing that. Eric Holder throws nobody in prison, and that's why this is happening again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if these executives had been walked away in handcuffs, if they were in orange jumpsuits picking up trash on the side of the road, the next CEO is not going to do this same crap. But because they know, okay, we can make X amount of money before we get caught. When we get caught, we will have to pay out this amount. So we'll make a profit of, whatever X over Y. That's our profit.
Why doesn't the Department of Justice prosecute these people? We talked about it last week, where even Ronald Reagan prosecuted 800 bankers, threw 800 bankers in prison. That hasn't been done with Bill Clinton, wasn't done with Bush, wasn't done with Obama, wasn't done with Trump, certainly wasn't done when they had them dead to rights. They had them signing documents. We did all these bad things, and nobody's prosecuted. What's up?
Well, that's where all of these Justice Department lawyers want to go work when they leave office, or that's where they came from before they went to the DOJ. These are their friends. These are the people they grew up with. We went to law school together. We're not gonna get you. Don't worry.
Eric Holder, great example, right? Covington Burling, their specialty is defending white collar criminals. He comes from Covington. Obama takes him out of that firm, puts him in to the AG in America. He's the guy that makes all these decisions. He lets all of these criminals go, and then the story really ends well for him. Covington Burling hires him back. They triple his salary. They give him this luxurious office on the 5th floor where it basically has the entire floor. That's the payoff for not prosecuting, right?
Yep, and that's where he came from. That's where he returned to as soon as he retired. And that's what we see, because we're not picking attorneys general who come from, your firm. Hell, this country would be a much different place if we did. We'd see a lot more people in jail. But we're getting the corporate defense lawyers who made their fortunes defending these people, and they continue it once they get power.
Yeah. Major health insurance companies have stopped using humans. Can't make this story up. They're not using humans to review insurance claims, and they're now using computer algorithms to deny claims when a person has to have surgery, or when a person needs medication, or when a person needs physical therapy. They're using computers to say, no, you can't have that heart surgery, right?
Yeah, this is a terrifying story, and this is, ProPublica did a wonderful job, as they always do. One of the last few truly independent journalism places.
Love that site, man.
But they have found that Cigna is one of the worst offenders, but it's happening across the board. And what Cigna did is they started to use a program called PXDX that was developed by a doctor who now is making buku cash from insurance companies. And what it does is it flags any claim that has something that this particular doctor thinks shouldn't be a treatment or a test with that particular illness. And therefore, the claims are immediately denied. These doctors, these insurance executives are now able to deny hundreds of claims per minute instead of spending an hour or so on each claim.
They're using things, like the doctor that is making a decision about whether or not you get heart surgery because you had a heart attack and the doc says you really need heart surgery. The doctor who's making that decision is a podiatrist, okay? He's a foot doctor. And he's making the decision based on what comes out of that algorithm in the computer that says, no, we can't give this guy heart surgery. If he does, he's going to have to pay for it. And Cigna has gotten away with it. All of these insurance companies are doing that. And Congress knows this. Congress knows that this is the biggest scam. The idea, here's the idea of it. Deny benefits, and maybe people will just go away. Maybe they won't actually do anything about it, right?
Yeah, because they have it built into their system like so many other corporations. We know that if we deny 100 claims, only on average 5 of those claims the people will actually challenge. So 95%, that's their number, 95% get that letter saying we're not going to cover it, and they just accept it. And they go on with their lives and they get this massive medical debt, but they say there's nothing I can do, my claim has been denied. Only 5% of people will say, well, hold up, my doctor diagnosed me with this and said I need this test. Yes, it's cancer, but they said I have to have the ultrasound because they want to see if it has spread over here.
Let's call out names. These are names, doctors that were working with Cigna. Dr. Dobke. Okay, Dr. Dobke, he rejected 121,000 claims based on the computer algorithm. Dr. Richard Kapik, he denied 80,000 claims that came out of the computer, clear denials. Now that's during a 2-month period of time. Yeah. That's 2 months. Dr. Rossi denied 63,000 claims that came out of the computer. Well, here's what I'm going to do, just so you know. Let me land this story. We are now going to start bringing lawsuits against the doctors who make these decisions, because in the chain of events, they're committing malpractice. Okay? When you have a podiatrist that's making a decision that a person can't get heart surgery, you do the math on that. It's just a matter of time. We're going to find the perfect case, and it's going to be very public. We're looking for it right now.
Yeah, and for the record, the doctor that created this PXDX, Dr. Alan Muni. Alan Muni is the guy that created this.
Litigation is making its way through Congress that could give the government unprecedented power to snoop on your internet activity, all under the disguise of preventing China from spying on your internet activity. Wow. You know what? Let me jump back in time. The first time you saw this story about TikTok, you know what you said to me? You said, Pap, let me tell you where it's going. And we sat and talked about it, and we said, absolutely, this is where it's going. Tell us where we are with this internet ridiculous story.
We're actually even worse with this legislation than I would have thought.
Yeah.
Because the Restrict Act is what it's called. And there's no mention of TikTok in it, even though it's supposed to be the bill to ban TikTok and China from taking your data. And what it does is it creates this board controlled by the President of the United States, because the Democrats, I think, don't understand that Biden's not going to be president forever.
Yeah, or maybe not even the next time, probably.
Yeah,
you know?
So, you're going to put a horrible person, maybe there already is one in charge. But anyway, it creates this board that is going to have broad jurisdiction, no judicial oversight, to accuse any American of engaging in illegal activity online, and they immediately get that user's entire internet history, their online purchase information, everything that person has ever done online, and you can't appeal it, you can't take it to a court, you cannot challenge it. This is dictatorship.
Well, okay, there's no appellate process. There's no review at all.
Right.
The committee that makes the decision was appointed by the president that makes the decision. I don't really like this. Let's wipe it out. You have no idea even why you've become a target.
Yeah.
They don't have a duty to even tell you why you become. Mark Warner. Now, Mark Warner, Democrat from Virginia, he's the guy behind this. He's there with John Thune. Yeah. And they say, oh, this is brilliant. Mark Warner, Democrat from Virginia, is the guy that helped draft this. He's the one pushing it. And this is like a nightmare. I hate to use 1984. Everybody, every jerkwater in the world, 1984. But this really is.
It truly is. And look, you could be facing 20 years in prison if you use a VPN to access a banned website like TikTok.
Yeah.
Or up to $1 million in fines. So if you get on TikTok with a VPN, if we've banned it, you could have to pay $1 million just to be on TikTok for a few minutes. This is insane.
Here's my prediction. Biden is not going to be reelected. Okay, he's not. I don't know who it is, but he's not going to be reelected. You're going to have the Republican, maybe another Democrat. I'm not sure, but you're going to have a different person making these decisions. So if you're saying, oh, well, I'm good with Biden making these decisions, you better be able to say, oh, I'm good with Trump making these decisions or DeSantis making these decisions. I'm fine with that. You better be able to say that before you swallow this ridiculous story, right?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you how bad this legislation is. You have AOC, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Josh Hawley, Jamal Bowman, conservative media outlets, Fox News, liberal media outlets, everybody is united in warning about how terrible this is. And when you've managed to unite the entire country with how bad your legislation is, that should be clue number one.
I have got to read this. Let's take a second. This is the response. This is the committee's response when ProPublica asked them, what the hell? What are you doing? Here's what they said. Well, this gives us the ability to mitigate the national security risk posed by high-risk technology business in the U.S. and would strengthen our ability to address discrete risks posed by individual transactions and systematic risks posed by certain classes of transactions involving countries of unknown concern and unknown sensitivity. What the hell? That's word salad. So this word salad is what they're telling everybody. Basically, that means nothing to me.
Yeah.
It's as vague as the legislation itself.
To me, what that means is, listen, Americans, if anybody's going to be stealing your data, it's going to be your own government.
Right.
That's what that means.
Yeah, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because Biden's a good guy, and he's not going to let anything bad happen. And maybe Trump won't either. Maybe DeSantis won't either. God almighty. Farron Cousins, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
That's all for this week, but all these segments are going to be available throughout next week, and make sure you follow us on Twitter at America's Lawyer. I'm Mike Papantonio, and this has been America's Lawyer, where we tell you the stories every week that corporate media won't tell you because their advertisers don't let them, or their political connections to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. They don't allow for it. We'll see you next time.